I thought marriage was for life. Turns out so is herpes in my wife's family. My name is Mark Dorsey, and 3 months ago I had what most people would call a decent life. Decent house in Fairfield, Connecticut. Decent job as an insurance investigator. Decent wife named Elise who worked for a luxury travel company. And Emma, my 10-year-old daughter who's the only thing in this world that makes perfect sense. The first crack in my perfect little world came on a Tuesday morning when I was making Emma's lunch. She was sitting at the kitchen table, her dark hair messy from sleep, picking at her cereal. "Dad, why does Uncle Julien always smell like he bathed in cologne?" she asked, wrinkling her nose. "Uncle Julien? That would be Julien Lafitte, my wife's cousin from France. Not really her uncle, but Emma had been taught to call him that out of respect. Julien had been staying with us for 2 weeks, supposedly looking for an apartment while he established his art-dealing business in New York. "Some people think more is better, sweetheart," I said, spreading peanut butter on her sandwich. "Like your mom with her perfume," Emma giggled. "Mom's perfume stinks of lies. Kids say the damnedest things." I laughed it off then, but now I realize Emma's 10-year-old nose was more perceptive than my 38-year-old brain. That evening, I came home from a surveillance job around 11. I'd been watching a guy who claimed he couldn't work due to a back injury, but who'd been spotted playing basketball at the local court. Insurance fraud cases aren't glamorous, but they pay the bills and use skills I'd learned during my 8 years as a cop before I burned out on the badge. The house was dark except for a light in the kitchen. I figured Elise was having another of her late-night work calls with clients in different time zones. Her job involved planning luxury vacations for wealthy people who had more money than sense. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and was heading upstairs when I heard voices from the living room, Elise's voice and a man's, speaking French. Now I took 2 years of high school French, which qualifies me to order a croissant and ask where the bathroom is. But I recognized the tone. Intimate. Soft. The kind of voice Elise used to use with me. I crept to the doorway and peered around the corner. Elise was curled up on the couch next to Julien, her head on his shoulder. His hand was stroking her hair. They were watching some French movie, subtitles flickering across the screen. "Mon amour," he whispered, kissing the top of her head. My beer bottle slipped from my hand and shattered on the hardwood floor. They sprang apart like teenagers caught by parents. Elise's face went white, then red. "Mark, you're home early." "Apparently not early enough?" I stared at Julien, who had the decency to look embarrassed. "Having a nice family movie night?" "It's not what it looks like," Elise said, standing up and smoothing her hair. She was wearing a silk nightgown I'd bought her for our anniversary. "We were just what? Practicing French kissing?" Julien stood up, all 6 feet of him. He was handsome in that European way that makes American men feel like slobs. Designer clothes, perfect hair, the kind of accent that makes women swoon. "Mark, perhaps we should talk like civilized men. Perhaps you should pack your bags and get the hell out of my house." "Dad?" Emma's voice came from the stairway. She was standing there in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "What happened? I heard glass break." "Nothing, sweetheart. Go back to bed. Uncle Julien was just leaving." Julien looked at Elise, then at me, then at Emma. "Oui. Yes, I think that is best." He gathered his things from the coffee table, his phone, a wine glass, what looked like legal documents, and headed for the stairs. As he passed Emma, he ruffled her hair. "Bonne nuit, little one." Emma pulled away from his touch and ran to me. I picked her up, even though she was getting too big for it. "Is Uncle Julien in trouble?" she whispered in my ear. "Yeah, baby. Big trouble." After I tucked Emma back into bed, I found Elise in our bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed with her head in her hands. "How long?" I asked. "Mark, please, let me explain. How long, Elise?" She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. Real tears, or the kind she could summon when she needed them. After 12 years of marriage, I was no longer sure I could tell the difference. 6 months, since he first contacted me about coming to America. 6 months. While I was working late nights and weekends to pay for this house, this life, she'd been planning her exit strategy. "Are you in love with him?" "I don't know, maybe. Yes." She wiped her eyes. "Mark, we've been drifting apart for years. You know we have. So, you decided to drift toward your cousin?" "He's my second cousin, and he makes me feel alive again." "What does that make me? Dead weight?" She didn't answer, which was answer enough. I slept in the guest room that night. In the morning, I found a note on the kitchen counter. Elise had taken Emma to school and gone to work. Julian's rental car was gone from the driveway. The note said, "We need time to think. I'm staying at my sister's for a few days. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. Don't make this harder than it has to be." Like I was the one who'd complicated things. I called in sick to work and spent the day walking around the house, seeing it with new eyes. The photos on the mantle that showed our family history, the couch where my wife had been cuddling with another man, the kitchen table where we'd shared thousands of meals and conversations. All of it felt like a museum now. The museum of things that used to matter. When Emma came home from school, she found me sitting in the backyard, staring at nothing. "Where's Mom?" "She's staying at Aunt Sarah's for a while." "Because of Uncle Julian?" "Yeah, baby, because of Uncle Julian." Emma sat down next to me on the porch steps. "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" "I don't know yet. Would that scare you?" She thought about it with the seriousness that only kids can bring to life-changing questions. "A little, but maybe it would be better. You guys fight a lot when you think I'm not listening." "Smart kid. Too smart." "Whatever happens, you know I love you, right?" "I know, Dad. And I love you too, more than Mom's stinky perfume." That got a laugh out of me. The first genuine laugh I'd had in 24 hours. That night after Emma was asleep, I did what any good investigator would do. I started looking for evidence. Elise had left her laptop behind. Her password was Emma's birthday, which should have been romantic, but now just seemed lazy. Her email told the story I'd been too blind to see. Months of messages between her and Julian. Plans for his visit. Hotel reservations in New York for romantic weekends, while I thought she was at business conferences. Photos they'd sent each other that made my stomach turn. But the worst part was the most recent email chain. It wasn't just about an affair, it was about a future that included Emma. "The lawyer says it will be easier if we establish residency in France first," Elise had written. "Emma will love Paris, and the international schools there are excellent." Julienne's response: "I have already spoken to my contacts about the adoption process. Once we are married, it should be straightforward. Adoption process." They were planning to take my daughter to France and have Julienne adopt her. I printed every email, saved every photo, downloaded every document. Then I closed the laptop and sat in the dark for a long time. Outside, it started to rain. The kind of steady, cold rain that makes you feel like the world is washing away everything you thought you knew. I was wrong about marriage being for life. But I was about to learn that some things are worth fighting for, no matter what it takes. And I was about to discover just how far a desperate father will go to protect his child. ##. Chapter 2. The Vanishing Act. The next 3 days passed like a bad dream. Elise came by to pick up clothes and more of her things, but she wouldn't talk about anything except logistics. Who would pick up Emma from school? When she could see her? Whether I'd be reasonable about custody arrangements. Reasonable. As if there was anything reasonable about finding out your wife was planning to abduct your daughter to another country. I didn't tell her I'd seen the emails. Not yet. I was still processing the magnitude of what they were planning, and I needed to be smart about my next move. On Thursday evening, Emma and I were having dinner when she asked the question I'd been dreading. "When is Mom coming home?" "I'm not sure, sweetheart. She and I need to work some things out." "Is it because she likes Uncle Julian more than you?" The kid missed nothing. "What makes you say that?" "The way she looked at him? And she was always texting when he wasn't here. She got the same look when she got messages that she gets when she's planning surprise parties." "You're very observant. I get it from you." "That's what Mom always says when I notice things she doesn't want me to notice." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Whatever happens between your mom and me, it's not your fault, and both of us love you very much." "I know, but Dad?" "Yeah? I don't want to live in France." My blood went cold. "What makes you think you might live in France?" "I heard Mom on the phone yesterday. She was talking to Aunt Sarah about French schools and how good my grades are and how I'm young enough to learn the language easily." So it was already in motion. They weren't just planning, they were preparing. That night, after Emma was asleep, I called my old partner, Rico Martinez. Rico had stayed on the force when I left, made detective, and now worked white-collar crime. If anyone could help me understand my legal options, it was him. "Jesus, Mark, you sure know how to pick them." "Yeah, well, she wasn't like this when I married her. At least I don't think she was." "What do you want to do about it?" "I want to stop them from taking Emma to France. Is there anything I can do legally?" "You could try for an emergency custody order, but you'd need proof they're planning to take her out of the country. Do you have that?" I thought about the emails. Maybe. Maybe isn't good enough for a judge. You need documentation, plane tickets, passport applications, something concrete. What if I already have her passport? Then they can't take her anywhere. But Mark, if they're serious about this, they might try to get a replacement, or worse. Worse how? People who are planning to disappear with a kid don't always wait for paperwork. That kept me awake all night. Friday morning, I drove Emma to school and then went to the safe deposit box at our bank. I wanted to check on Emma's passport and some other important documents. The box was nearly empty. Emma's passport was gone. So was her birth certificate and her social security card. I stood there staring at the empty slots where those documents should have been, feeling like someone had punched me in the stomach. Elise had access to the box. She'd been here recently. I drove straight to Sarah's house. Sarah was Elise's younger sister, divorced, lived alone in a condo about 20 minutes away. Her car was in the driveway, but when I rang the doorbell, no one answered. I walked around to the back of the building. Sarah's sliding door was open, and I could hear voices inside. "Told you this was a mistake," Sarah was saying. "Mark's not stupid. He's going to figure it out." "He already has." That was Elise's voice. "He knows about Julian." "But does he know about the rest of it?" "Not yet, but he will." I crept closer to the door, staying out of sight. "Maybe you should reconsider," Sarah said. "Emma's his daughter, too. Emma will be fine. She'll love France, and Julian adores her. This is what's best for everyone." "What's best for everyone, or what's best for you?" There was a long pause. "I can't stay married to Mark," Elise finally said. "I can't keep pretending to be happy in that life, and I won't leave Emma behind." "So you're going to steal her?" "I'm going to save her from growing up in a broken home, watching her parents resent each other, from growing up in a small town with small dreams." "Mark's a good father, Elise. Mark's a good man, but he's not the man I want to spend my life with." I'd heard enough. I backed away from the door and walked to my car, my hands shaking with rage. That afternoon, I picked up Emma from school as usual. She chattered about her day, her friends, a book report she was working on. Normal 10-year-old stuff that felt precious and fragile now. "Dad, are we going to Mom's tonight?" We had plans to have dinner at Sarah's, a family meeting that Elise had arranged. "Yeah, but Emma, I want you to promise me something." "What?" "If anyone ever tries to take you somewhere without telling me first, you call me immediately, even if it's Mom." She looked at me with those serious, dark eyes. "Am I in danger?" I wanted to lie, to protect her innocence a little longer, but she deserved the truth. "I think Mom might be planning to move far away and take you with her, without asking what you want. To France? Maybe." Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I don't want to go to France, Dad. I want to stay here with you. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that happens." We drove to Sarah's house. Elise's car was there, and so was a rental car I didn't recognize. Julian was back. We walked up to the door together, Emma's small hand in mine. I felt like I was walking into a trap, but I needed to know what they were planning. Sarah answered the door with a forced smile. "Hi, Mark." "Emma, sweetie. Come give me a hug." Emma hugged her aunt but stayed close to me. In the living room, Elise and Julianne were sitting on the couch, not touching but close enough that their united front was obvious. "Hello, Emma," Julian said with his perfect smile. "How was school today?" "Fine," Emma said, not moving from my side. "Mark," Elise stood up. "Thank you for coming. We need to talk." "Yeah, we do." "Perhaps Emma should play in the other room while the adults discuss things," Julian suggested. "Emma stays with me," I said. "Mark, please, this is hard enough without..." "Without what? Without your daughter hearing how you're planning to abduct her?" The room went dead silent. Elise's face went white. "I don't know what you think you heard, but I know about the emails, Elise. I know about your plans for France. I know you took Emma's documents from the safe deposit box." Sarah sank into a chair. Julian stood up, his jaw tight. "Perhaps we should speak privately," he said. "Perhaps you should shut up," I replied. "This is between me and my wife." "Dad?" Emma's voice was small and scared. I knelt down to her level. "It's okay, baby. Why don't you go to Aunt Sarah's room and watch TV for a few minutes?" Emma looked at the adults in the room, then back at me. "Will you come and get me soon?" "Very soon." After Emma left the room, I turned back to Elise. "How could you do this to her? To us?" "I'm doing what I think is best. You're doing what's best for you. There's a difference." "Mark, please try to understand," Julian said, stepping forward. "Elise is not happy. She's not been happy for a long time. And that gives you the right to break up my family? We are not breaking anything. We are trying to build something new with my daughter. Emma will have opportunities in France that she could never have here. The best schools, culture, travel. I stood up fast enough that Julian took a step back. Emma will have her father. That's the opportunity that matters. Mark, Elise said, tears starting, I know this is hard, but we can work out visitation. You can come see her, or she can visit here during summers. Visit? You want me to visit my own daughter? People get divorced all the time. Families figure it out. People get divorced. They don't flee the country with stolen children. I'm not stealing her. I'm her mother. And I'm her father. That used to mean something. The argument went on for another hour, going in circles. They had it all planned out. Elise would file for divorce, claiming I was controlling and potentially dangerous. She'd request permission to relocate to France for work opportunities. By the time the legal system sorted it out, they'd be settled in Paris with Emma enrolled in school. It's better this way, Elise kept saying. Clean break, fresh start. Clean for who? Fresh for who? When I finally collected Emma and left, I felt like I was drowning. They had money, they had a plan, and they had a head start. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated how far a father will go to protect his child. And they were about to find out that my 8 years as a cop had taught me more than just how to investigate insurance fraud. #. Chapter 3. The Confrontation. The next morning was Saturday. Emma was still asleep when my phone rang at 7 a.m. Mark, it's Rico. I've been thinking about your situation all night. And I think you need to move fast. I did some checking. There's no record of them applying for permission to relocate Emma, which means they're planning to just disappear. How is that possible? Don't they need court approval? Only if they're planning to come back. If they're planning to stay in France permanently, they might try to establish residency there first, and then deal with the legal issues from a position of strength. Meaning? Meaning possession is 9/10 of the law. If they get Emma to France and establish her in school there, it becomes much harder for you to get her back. I felt sick. What can I do? First, you need to document everything. Every conversation, every plan they've made, get it all on record. I have the emails. Good. Second, you need to file for emergency custody today. I know a family law attorney who might see you on short notice. On a Saturday? Mark, if your kid was about to be abducted, wouldn't you work weekends? He had a point. There's something else, Rico said. I ran Julian's name through some databases. He's got an interesting history. What kind of interesting? The kind that involves art fraud investigations in 3 different countries. Nothing that stuck, but enough smoke to suggest fire. Are you saying he's a criminal? I'm saying he's not the upstanding businessman he pretends to be. And if Elise doesn't know that, she's about to get a very unpleasant surprise. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen drinking coffee and thinking. Emma wandered down in her pajamas, hair messy, looking for breakfast. Dad, you look worried. Just thinking about some work stuff. She poured herself a bowl of cereal and sat down across from me. Is Mom coming home today? I don't think so, sweetheart. Good. That surprised me. Good. I like it better when it's just us. It's quieter. You know your mom loves you, right? Emma stirred her cereal thoughtfully. I know she thinks she does, but she loves the idea of me more than the real me. What do you mean? She wants me to be perfect all the time. Perfect grades, perfect clothes, perfect manners. She gets mad when I'm just a regular kid. And what about me? Emma grinned. You like me even when I'm gross. Especially when you're gross. That made her laugh, and for a moment things felt normal again. But normal was about to become a luxury I couldn't afford. Rico's attorney friend agreed to see me that afternoon. Her name was Patricia Wells, and she specialized in custody cases involving international complications. Mr. Dorsey, I'm going to be blunt with you. If your wife takes your daughter to France, getting her back will be extremely difficult and expensive. But not impossible? Not impossible. But the Hague Convention process can take years, and there's no guarantee of success. Your best option is to prevent them from leaving in the first place. How? Emergency custody order. But you'll need compelling evidence that your daughter is in imminent danger of being removed from the country. I showed her the emails I'd printed. She read them carefully, making notes. This is good, but I need more. Do you have any evidence of travel plans, tickets, hotel reservations, anything concrete? Not yet. Then you need to get some. And Mr. Dorsey? Yes? You need to be very careful about how you obtain that evidence. If this goes to court, you don't want the judge thinking you're the dangerous one. I spent the rest of Saturday doing what I do best, investigating. I called the travel company where Elise worked and spoke to her boss, pretending to be planning a surprise for her. "Oh, Mr. Dorsey, how sweet. But didn't Elise tell you? She's requested a transfer to our Paris office. She said you were all planning to relocate." Strike one. I checked with Emma's school, posing as a concerned father trying to plan ahead. "Yes, Mrs. Dorsey did request Emma's academic records," the secretary told me. "She said you might be moving for work. We'll be sorry to lose Emma. She's such a bright girl." Strike two. I drove past Sarah's condo that evening. Elise's car was there, and so was the rental car. But there was also a third car I didn't recognize. I parked down the street and waited. Around 8 p.m., a man I'd never seen before came out of the building carrying a briefcase. He got into the third car and drove away. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Sarah. "Mark, can you come over? Elise wants to talk to you." "About what?" "About making this easier for everyone." I almost said no, but I needed to know what they were planning. "I'll be there in 10 minutes. When I arrived, Elise answered the door alone. She looked tired and stressed. "Where's Emma?" she asked. "At home, where she belongs." "Mark, please, can we try to be civilized about this?" "Civilized? You want to talk about civilized?" She led me into the living room. Julian was there, along with Sarah and another man I didn't recognize. He was wearing an expensive suit and had the look of someone who charged by the hour. "Mark, this is David Chen, my attorney," Elise said. "Mr. Dorsey." Chen stood and offered his hand. I didn't take it. "Let me guess. You're here to tell me how I should just accept that my wife is stealing my daughter." "I'm here to discuss a reasonable custody arrangement that serves everyone's interests, particularly Emma's. Emma's interests are served by staying with her father." "Mr. Dorsey, I understand you're upset, but Mrs. Dorsey has every right to relocate for career opportunities. The question is whether you want to work together to minimize the disruption to your daughter or make this as difficult as possible for everyone." "Difficult? You people are planning to abduct my child, and I'm the one making things difficult?" "No one is abducting anyone," Chen said calmly. "Mrs. Dorsey is planning to relocate to Paris for work. She would like to take Emma with her, with your permission. And if I don't give my permission, then we'll let the court decide what's in Emma's best interests. The court doesn't know Emma. I do, and Emma wants to stay here." "Children often resist change," Julian said, speaking for the first time. "But they adapt. Emma will love Paris." I turned to look at him. "You know what I love about you, Julian? Your confidence. You're so sure everything's going to work out exactly the way you've planned." "Mark," Elise said, "we're trying to be fair about this." "Fair? You want to talk about fair?" I pulled out my phone and opened the email I'd been saving for the right moment. "Let me read you something, Elise. This is from your email account, sent to Julianne 3 weeks ago. Mark will fight the custody arrangement, but once we're established in France, it won't matter. By the time he can afford the legal fees for international litigation, Emma will be settled in her new life." The room went dead quiet. "You weren't planning to ask for my permission," I continued. "You were planning to steal her and dare me to try to get her back." Chen cleared his throat. "Mr. Dorsey, I don't know where you obtained that information, but I obtained it from my wife's email account, which I have legal access to since we're still married, and it's on our shared computer." "Mark," Elise said, her voice shaking, "you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You found a new life, and you decided Emma was part of the package. My feelings didn't matter. Emma's feelings didn't matter. Just what you wanted." "That's not true." "Isn't it? When's the last time you asked Emma what she wanted?" "She's 10 years old. She doesn't know what's best for her. She knows she doesn't want to move to France. She'll change her mind. Will she? Or will you just drag her there anyway?" I stood up. "Here's what's going to happen. Emma stays with me. You want to run off to Paris with your boyfriend? Go ahead. But you're not taking my daughter." "Mark, be reasonable," Chen said. "Mrs. Dorsey is willing to discuss generous visitation." "Generous visitation? For seeing my own child?" "This doesn't have to be a war," Elise said, tears starting again. "You're right, it doesn't. Come home. We'll go to counseling. We'll figure this out like adults." "I can't do that." "Why not?" She looked at Julian, then back at me. "Because I don't love you anymore." The words hit like a physical blow, but they also clarified everything. Then we're done here, I said. I walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Oh, and Julian, you might want to tell Elise about your little problem with art fraud investigations. I'm sure she'd love to hear about your business practices in Milan and Barcelona. Julian's face went white. Elise looked at him with confusion. What is he talking about? She asked. Nothing. He's trying to cause trouble. Am I? Rico's running a more thorough background check. We should have the full report by Monday. I left them to sort that out and drove home. Emma was waiting up for me, curled up on the couch in her pajamas. How did it go? She asked. Not great, but we're going to be okay. Are you and Mom getting divorced? Yeah, baby, I think we are. Will I have to go live with her? I sat down next to her and pulled her close. Not if I can help it. Good. Because I like our house, and I like my school, and I like you. I like you too, kiddo, more than anything in the world. That night, after Emma was asleep, I sat in my home office planning my next move. Chen was right about one thing. This was going to be a war. But he'd made the same mistake they all had. He'd underestimated how dirty I was willing to fight. #. Chapter 4. The Dirty War. Sunday morning brought the first shot in what would become an all-out battle for my daughter. I woke up to find 2 police officers at my front door. I'm Mr. Dorsey. We need to speak with you about a domestic disturbance complaint. What complaint? Your wife filed a report claiming you threatened her and her friend last night. I invited them in, offered coffee, and calmly explained what had actually happened. I showed them the emails, the evidence of the planned abduction, and Rico's preliminary background report on Julienne. So, let me get this straight, the older officer said. Your wife is planning to take your daughter to France, and when you confronted her about it, she filed a complaint claiming you were threatening. That's exactly right. And you have documentation of this plan? Extensive documentation. The officers looked at each other. The younger one spoke up. Mr. Dorsey, we're going to file our report based on what we've seen here. But you should know, false police reports are a crime. If your wife is trying to establish a pattern of alleged threatening behavior, she's building a case to show I'm dangerous, so she can justify taking Emma out of the country. That would be our assessment, too. After they left, I called Patricia Wells. They're escalating, she said, which means they're getting desperate. But it also means we need to move faster. What do you need from me? Everything. Every email, every conversation, every piece of evidence you can find. And Mr. Dorsey, document everything from now on. Every interaction with your wife, record it if possible. Is that legal? Connecticut is a one-party consent state. As long as you're part of the conversation, you can record it. I spent Sunday installing recording apps on my phone and setting up a small camera in my living room. If Elise wanted to play dirty, I'd give her dirty. Monday morning, Emma went to school and I went to work, but my heart wasn't in surveillance of insurance fraudsters. I had bigger fraud to worry about. Around noon, my phone rang. It was Emma's school. Mr. Dorsey, this is Principal Martinez. I'm afraid there's been an incident. My blood went cold. What kind of incident? Someone came to the school claiming to be picking up Emma for a dental appointment. They had a note supposedly from you, but when we called to confirm, your phone went to voicemail. Who was it? A man with a French accent. He became quite agitated when we refused to release Emma without speaking to you first. Where's Emma now? She's safe in my office. But Mr. Dorsey, I think you need to get here right away. I broke every speed limit getting to the school. Emma was sitting in the principal's office looking scared but trying to be brave. Dad, she ran to me and I held her tight. It's okay, baby, you're safe. The man said you sent him to get me, but I knew you didn't. You always pick me up yourself when I have appointments. Smart girl. I looked at Principal Martinez. Did you get his name? He said he was Julian Lafitte, Mrs. Dorsey's cousin. He had identification and everything. But our policy is clear. We don't release children without direct confirmation from the custodial parent. Thank you. That policy may have just saved my daughter from being abducted. I called Patricia Wells from the car. They just tried to take her from school, I told her. That's it. We're filing for emergency custody today. Can you get to my office in an hour? We'll be there. The emergency custody hearing was scheduled for Wednesday morning. Patricia was confident we had a strong case, but she warned me that Elise's attorney would fight hard. They're going to paint you as a controlling husband who's trying to prevent his wife from pursuing career opportunities, she said. Be prepared for them to get personal. Tuesday evening, Elise called. I answered on the first ring with the recording app running. Mark, we need to talk. I'm listening. This has gotten out of hand. The police, the lawyers, the school incident. This isn't what I wanted. What did you want, Elise? I wanted us to work this out like adults. Adults don't try to abduct children from their schools. That wasn't abduction. Julian was just trying to help. Help with what? Your plan to disappear with Emma. There was a long pause. Mark, I'm going to ask you one more time to be reasonable about this. Let me take Emma to Paris for the summer. Let her see what it's like. If she hates it, we'll reconsider. And if she loves it, then maybe we can work out a more permanent arrangement. No. Mark, no, Elise. Emma stays here, with me. If you want to see her, you can visit her here. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Let me tell you what's fair. Fair is Emma getting to stay in her home, with her friends, in her school, with the parent who's been taking care of her while you've been planning your escape. I've been taking care of her too. Have you? When's the last time you helped with her homework? When's the last time you went to one of her soccer games? When's the last time you tucked her in at night? Silence. I thought so, I continued. You've been so busy planning your new life that you forgot about your old one. That's not true, isn't it? Emma told me she likes it better when it's just us because it's quieter. Do you know why it's quieter, Elise? Because she doesn't have to walk on eggshells around me. She doesn't have to be perfect all the time. I never asked her to be perfect. You didn't have to ask. She could feel your disappointment every time she wasn't what you wanted her to be. Mark, please, I'm trying to do what's best for her. No, you're trying to do what's best for you. There's a difference. Maybe you're right. Maybe I am being selfish, but Mark, I can't stay in this marriage. I can't pretend to be happy anymore. Then don't. Get divorced. Move to Paris. Live your life, but leave Emma out of it. I can't leave my daughter. Then don't leave. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You're choosing Julian over Emma. Own it. She hung up. Wednesday morning came gray and cold. Emma stayed home from school to come to court with me. Patricia thought it was important for the judge to see her and to hear what she wanted. The courtroom was small and sterile. Elise sat at the other table with Chen and another attorney I didn't recognize. She looked pale and tired. Julianne was nowhere to be seen. Judge Sarah Morrison was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense manner. She'd clearly read all the filings. This is an emergency hearing regarding custody of Emma Dorsey, age 10, she began. Mr. Dorsey is requesting emergency custody based on allegations that Mrs. Dorsey is planning to remove the child from the country without permission. Mrs. Dorsey, how do you respond to these allegations? Chen stood up. Your Honor, Mrs. Dorsey has been offered a significant career opportunity with her company's Paris office. She would like to take her daughter with her to provide Emma with educational and cultural opportunities that simply aren't available in Connecticut. And Mr. Dorsey's objections? Mr. Dorsey is unfortunately allowing his personal feelings about his wife's relationship with Mr. Lafitte to cloud his judgment about what's best for Emma. I see. Mr. Dorsey? Patricia stood. Your Honor, the evidence shows this isn't about career opportunities. This is about Mrs. Dorsey's plan to permanently relocate to France with her daughter without regard for Mr. Dorsey's parental rights or Emma's own wishes. What evidence? Patricia presented the emails, the documentation of Elise taking Emma's passport and birth certificate, the school incident, and the recorded phone conversations. Judge Morrison reviewed everything carefully. Mrs. Dorsey, did you remove your daughter's passport and other documents from the family safe deposit box without your husband's knowledge? Elise stood. Yes, Your Honor, but I was just... And did Mr. Lafitte attempt to pick up Emma from school yesterday without Mr. Dorsey's permission? There was a miscommunication. Mrs. Dorsey, please answer the question. Did Mr. Lafitte attempt to remove Emma from school? Yes, but I've heard enough. Emma, would you like to speak with me privately? Emma nodded and followed the judge into her chambers. They were gone for 15 minutes. When they returned, Emma came and sat next to me. Judge Morrison looked serious. Based on the evidence presented and my conversation with Emma, I'm granting Mr. Dorsey's request for emergency custody. Mrs. Dorsey, you are prohibited from removing Emma from the state of Connecticut without court approval. Emma's passport will be held by the court pending resolution of this matter. Chen jumped up. Your Honor, this is extremely prejudicial. Mr. Chen, your client attempted to remove this child from the country without the father's knowledge or consent. The evidence is clear and compelling. Mrs. Dorsey will have supervised visitation rights to be arranged through the court. Supervised visitation? Elise looked stunned. Mrs. Dorsey, you have demonstrated a willingness to circumvent Mr. Dorsey's parental rights. Until we can be sure Emma is safe, all visitation will be supervised. As we left the courthouse, Emma slipped her hand into mine. What did you tell the judge? I asked. I told her I want to stay with you, and I told her Mom's been acting weird since Uncle Julian came. Weird how? Like she forgot she was my mom and started pretending to be someone else. Out of the mouths of babes. That evening, Rico came over with a bottle of whiskey and the full background report on Julien. Your boy's been busy, he said, spreading papers across my kitchen table. Art fraud in Italy, questioned about stolen paintings in Spain, suspected of running authentication scams in Germany. But no convictions? He's smart. Always stays just on the legal side of the line. But Mark, there's something else. What? He's married. I stared at Rico. What do you mean, married? I mean, he has a wife in France, Isabelle Lafitte. They've been married for 8 years. Does Elise know? Based on these emails you showed me, I don't think so. Look at this. He showed me a printout from a French social media site. Julien and a beautiful blonde woman at various social events, tagged as husband and wife. Son of a witch, I said. It gets better. Isabelle Lafitte comes from money, old French money. Her family owns art galleries in Paris, Nice, and Monaco. So Julien's not just a con man, he's a married con man who's been using Elise. That would be my assessment. I poured 2 glasses of whiskey and sat back in my chair. Rico, I need a favor. Name it. I need you to help me contact Isabelle Lafitte. Why? Because I think she deserves to know what her husband's been up to, and I think Elise deserves to know who she's really been planning to run away with. Rico grinned. Now you're thinking like a cop again. I'm thinking like a father who's tired of being played. The next phase of the war was about to begin, and this time I wasn't just fighting for Emma. I was fighting to expose the truth about the man who destroyed my marriage and nearly stolen my daughter. Julien Lafitte was about to learn that some secrets don't stay buried, and Elise was about to discover that the man she'd chosen over her family wasn't who she thought he was. Hash hash. Chapter 5. The Reckoning. Thursday morning, I dropped Emma at school and drove to Rico's office. He'd been working his contacts in international law enforcement, and the results were better than I'd hoped. Isabelle Lafitte wants to talk, he said, handing me a phone number. I reached out through a friend at Interpol. Turns out she's been suspicious about her husband's frequent business trips to America. What did you tell her? Just that her husband was involved in a custody dispute here, and that she might want to know the details. I called the number. A woman answered in accented English. Mrs. Lafitte, this is Mark Dorsey. I believe you spoke with Detective Martinez about your husband. Yes, please tell me what Julien has done. I told her everything. The affair, the plan to take Emma to France, the attempted school pickup. I emailed her copies of the correspondence between Julien and Elise. There was a long silence when I finished. Mr. Dorsey, I'm very sorry for what my husband has done to your family. Did you know about any of this? I suspected he was having affairs, but this, planning to bring a child to France to have me help raise another woman's daughter while pretending to be divorced, this is something else entirely. What are you going to do? I'm going to stop him. And Mr. Dorsey, I'm going to help you make sure your wife knows exactly who she has been planning her life with. How? I am coming to America. Tomorrow. Friday afternoon, I picked up Isabelle Lafitte at JFK Airport. She was elegant, blonde, and furious. During the drive back to Connecticut, she told me more about her husband's business practices. He is what you call a confidence man, yes? He finds wealthy women, makes them fall in love, convinces them to invest in his art deals. Then the art turns out to be fake or stolen or non-existent. And you've stayed married to him? I've been gathering evidence. In France, divorce can be complicated when there are family businesses involved. I needed proof of his infidelity and his crimes. And now you have it. Now I have it. That evening, Isabel and I went to Sarah's condo. I'd called ahead to make sure Elise and Julien would be there. I want to introduce them, I'd told Sarah. I think it's time they met. Sarah answered the door, looking confused. Mark, who's this? This is Isabelle Lafitte, Julien's wife. Sarah's face went white. Behind her, I could hear voices from the living room stop abruptly. His what? His wife of 8 years. May we come in? We walked into the living room. Elise was sitting on the couch, Julian beside her. When he saw Isabel, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. Bonjour, mon mari, Isabel said sweetly. Surprise. Julian stood up slowly. Isabel, what are you doing here? I came to meet your American girlfriend, and to see the child you were planning to bring to our home. Elise looked back and forth between them, confusion and dawning horror on her face. Julian, who is this woman? This is Isabel Lafitte, I said. Julian's wife. Would you like to see their wedding photos? I handed Elise my phone, which displayed the social media photos Rico had found. Elise stared at the screen, then at Julian, then at Isabel. You're married? Elise, I can explain. You're married? Her voice was getting higher. It is complicated. Complicated? Isabel laughed bitterly. What is complicated about lying to your wife for months while you seduce another woman and plan to steal her child? I was going to tell you. Tell me what? Elise stood up, her face flushed. That you're a liar? That you're a fraud? That everything you told me was BS? Elise, please, let me explain. Explain what? How you were going to bring me and Emma to France to live with your wife? Were we going to be one big happy family? Julian looked trapped. I was going to divorce Isabel. No, Isabel said firmly. You were going to use my family's money and connections to establish your girlfriend and her daughter in France. Then you were going to run the same art fraud schemes you have been running for years, using Emma's American passport and Elise's travel industry connections. That's not true, isn't it? I pulled out more papers Rico had prepared. Bank records showing payments from Isabel's family accounts to fund your American trip, email correspondence with forgers about creating false provenance documents for paintings, plans to use Emma as a courier for small artworks that wouldn't be searched at customs. Elise sank back down onto the couch. You were going to use Emma for smuggling? It was not smuggling, it was using a child to commit international crimes, I said. And if you'd succeeded, Emma would have been an accessory to art fraud before her 11th birthday. The room was dead silent except for the sound of Elise crying. I trusted you, she whispered. Elise, I destroyed my marriage for you. I nearly lost my daughter for you. We can still make this work. How? She looked up at him with tears streaming down her face. How can we make this work? You're married to someone else. You're a criminal. You were planning to use my daughter. I love you. You love what I could do for you, just like you love what your wife's family money could do for you. Isabel stepped forward. Mrs. Dorsey, my husband is very good at making women believe he loves them. But the only thing Julian loves is Julian. Elise looked at me. Mark, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, Elise. I know, but I need you to know I never would have put Emma in danger knowingly, if I'd known about any of this. But you didn't know, because you didn't want to know. You were so desperate to escape your life that you didn't bother to find out who you were escaping with. Julian made a move toward the door, but I blocked his path. Oh, where are you going? This conversation is over. No, it's not. You see, Isabel and I have been busy today. We've been talking to the FBI about your art fraud activities, and to immigration about your visa status, and to the local police about your attempt to take Emma from school. You cannot prove anything. Actually, we can. Isabel brought some very interesting documents from France. Bank records, correspondence with known art forgers, evidence of previous scams. Rico chose that moment to walk through the front door, along with 2 FBI agents. Julian Lafitte, one of them said, You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit art fraud and immigration violations. As they handcuffed Julian, he looked at Elise one last time. This is not over, he said. Yes, it is, I replied. It's very over. After they took Julian away, Isabel turned to Elise. Mrs. Dorsey, I am sorry for what my husband did to your family. If there is anything I can do to help repair the damage. Elise shook her head. There's nothing anyone can do. I did this to myself. No, I said. Julian did this. He's a hunter who targets vulnerable women. You weren't the first, and you wouldn't have been the last. That doesn't excuse what I did to you, to Emma. No, it doesn't, but it explains it. Sarah, who had been silent through the whole confrontation, finally spoke up. Elise, what are you going to do now? Elise looked around the room, at her sister, at Isabel, at me. I'm going to try to figure out how to be Emma's mother again, if Mark will let me. I thought about that. Emma deserves to have her mother in her life, but it's going to take time to rebuild that relationship. And it's going to have to be on Emma's terms. I understand. Do you? Because Emma's not the same little girl she was 3 months ago. She's been through trauma because of choices you made. She's going to need therapy. She's going to need time. And she's going to need consistency. I'll do whatever it takes. We'll see. That night, after Emma was asleep, I sat in my backyard with a beer and thought about everything that had happened. My phone buzzed with a text from Patricia Wells. Saw the news about the arrest. Congratulations. Call me Monday to discuss modifying the custody arrangement. Another text, this one from Rico. Julian's being held without bail. Immigration wants to deport him after he serves his sentence. Looks like your problems with him are over. And finally, a text from Elise. Thank you for saving Emma, and for saving me from making the biggest mistake of my life. I didn't respond to that one. I wasn't ready to forgive her yet. Maybe I never would be. But as I sat there in the quiet darkness, I realized something had changed. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. Emma was safe. She was home. And she was going to stay that way. The war was over. And we had won. #. Chapter 6. The New Normal. 6 months later, life had settled into something resembling normal. Emma was back to her old self, sarcastic, smart, and secure in the knowledge that her world wasn't going to be turned upside down again. Elise had moved back to Connecticut and was living in a small apartment across town. She'd started therapy and was slowly rebuilding her relationship with Emma. It was awkward and sometimes painful, but Emma was resilient and she wanted her mother in her life. She's different now, Emma told me one evening after returning from a supervised visit. Sadder, but more real. What do you mean? Before, it was like she was always performing. Now she just talks to me like I'm a person. The divorce had been finalized the month before. Elise hadn't fought for custody or tried to claim half the house. Her lawyer had advised her that, given the circumstances, she was lucky to get unsupervised visitation. I was in my office one Saturday morning when Emma knocked on the door. Dad, there's someone here to see you. I looked up to see a man I didn't recognize standing behind her. He was tall, well-dressed, and looked nervous. Mr. Dorsey? I'm James Morrison. I'm an attorney representing the Lafitte family in France. I stood up. What can I do for you? May I sit down? This is rather complicated. I gestured to a chair. Emma started to leave, but I called her back. Stay, sweetheart. This concerns you too. Morrison opened his briefcase and pulled out several documents. Mr. Dorsey, as you know, Julian Lafitte was convicted of art fraud and sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. He's also being sued by several of his sufferers. Good. What does that have to do with us? Isabel Lafitte has asked me to contact you on behalf of her family. They would like to make a gesture of restitution. Restitution? They feel responsible for the damage Julian caused to your family. They would like to establish a trust fund for Emma's education. I looked at the documents he handed me. The amount made my eyes widen. This is very generous, but we can't accept this. Mr. Dorsey, the Lafitte family are very wealthy, and they take their reputation seriously. What Julian did, using their name, their connections, their money to commit crimes, has brought shame on the family. They want to make amends. We don't need their money. Dad, Emma spoke up. Can I say something? Of course. Maybe we should accept it. Not because we need it, but because it would help them feel better about what happened. I looked at my daughter, amazed once again by her wisdom. And, she continued, it would be nice to know that college is paid for. Then you won't have to work so many boring insurance cases. That made me laugh. You think my cases are boring? Dad, watching people pretend to be injured is not exactly exciting, Morrison smiled. Your daughter makes excellent points, Mr. Dorsey. And I should mention, Isabel specifically requested that the trust be set up to pay for Emma to study abroad if she chooses. She said, and I quote, Emma should see the world the right way, with her father's permission and blessing. I thought about it. The money would indeed secure Emma's future, and accepting it felt like closing the door on this chapter of our lives. All right, we'll accept it. But with conditions. What conditions? The money goes directly into a trust that Emma can't access until she's 18, and I want regular reports on how it's being invested. Of course, Isabel insisted on those same conditions. After Morrison left, Emma and I walked to the park near our house. It was a beautiful October day, and the leaves were just starting to change colors. Dad, are you happy now? What do you mean? I mean, are you happy with how everything turned out? I thought about that. I'm happy you're safe. I'm happy we're together. I'm happy that the people who tried to hurt us are facing consequences. But are you happy? Yeah, kiddo, I think I am. What about you? I'm happy too, but I'm also sad for Mom. Why? Because she lost so much. She lost you, she almost lost me, and she lost the person she thought she was going to be. Do you forgive her? Emma was quiet for a long time. I'm trying to. She made really bad choices, but I think she was just scared and confused. That's very mature of you. I get it from you. I thought you got your observation skills from me and your attitude from your mother. No, I get my attitude from you too. Mom's attitude was always fake. Yours is real. We sat on a bench and watched other families playing in the park. Kids on swings, parents pushing strollers, teenagers playing basketball. Dad, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think you'll ever get married again? I don't know. Maybe someday. Would that bother you? Only if she tries to make me call her Mom, and only if she doesn't like sarcasm. Those are reasonable requirements. And she has to be okay with our Saturday morning pancake tradition. Non-negotiable. And she can't be French. That made me laugh out loud. Definitely not French. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the world go by. Dad? Yeah? Thank you for fighting for me. Thank you for being worth fighting for. As we walked home, I thought about how much had changed in the past year. I'd lost a wife, but I'd gained a deeper relationship with my daughter. I'd lost the illusion of a happy marriage, but I'd gained the reality of a happy life, and I'd learned something important about myself. When push came to shove, when everything I cared about was threatened, I was capable of more than I'd ever imagined. That evening, Emma was doing homework at the kitchen table when my phone rang. It was Elise. Mark, I wanted to let you know I got the job. What job? The one in Boston, regional manager for the travel company. It's a fresh start, but close enough that I can still see Emma regularly. That's good. Emma will be happy to know you're staying in New England. Mark, I know I don't have the right to ask this, but do you think you'll ever be able to forgive me? I looked at Emma, bent over her math homework, humming softly to herself. Safe, secure, and home where she belonged. I'm working on it, Elise. For Emma's sake, I'm working on it. That's all I can ask for. After I hung up, Emma looked up from her homework. Was that Mom? Yeah. She got a new job in Boston. Good. She needs something that's hers. What do you mean? She needs to figure out who she is when she's not trying to be someone else's idea of perfect. When did you get so wise? When I realized that the people who love me don't need me to be perfect. They just need me to be me. I ruffled her hair. You're pretty great just being you. I know. It's one of my best qualities. Later that night, after Emma was asleep, I stood in her doorway watching her sleep. She looked peaceful and young, her face relaxed in the way that only comes with feeling completely safe. I thought about the man I'd been a year ago, complacent, trusting, maybe a little naive. That man was gone, replaced by someone harder, but also more focused on what really mattered. I'd learned that love isn't always enough to save a marriage, but it's always enough to save the things that truly matter. I'd learned that some people will lie to your face while planning to destroy your life, and that the only defense against that kind of betrayal is to pay attention to actions rather than words. And I'd learned that when you're fighting for your child, there's no such thing as fighting dirty. There's only winning and losing. As I turned off Emma's light and headed to my own room, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Contentment. We'd been through hell, Emma and I. But we'd come out the other side stronger, closer, and more appreciative of what we had. Julian was in prison, facing deportation when his sentence was finished. His art fraud schemes had been exposed, and his sufferers were getting their money back. Elise was building a new life, one based on truth instead of fantasy. She was learning to be Emma's mother again, slowly and carefully. And Emma and I were exactly where we belonged, together in our house, living our life. The war was over, the good guys had won, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I was looking forward to tomorrow. 3 years later, Emma was 13 and had grown into the kind of teenager who could hold her own in any conversation. She was smart, funny, and had inherited my talent for reading people. I was at one of her soccer games when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mr. Dorsey, this is Isabelle Lafitte. I wanted you to know that Julien was deported to France yesterday. He will not be returning to America. I thought you and Emma should know that chapter is finally closed. I looked up at the field where Emma was playing midfielder, directing her teammates with the confidence of someone who knew her worth. I texted back, "Thank you for letting us know. Emma and I wish you well." Her response came quickly. "I hope someday to meet Emma properly, under better circumstances. She sounds like a remarkable young woman." She is. She gets it from her father. And her mother, too, I think. People can change, Mr. Dorsey. Sometimes the worst experiences teach us to become our best selves. I thought about Elise, who had indeed changed. She'd been promoted again and was dating a nice accountant from Boston who treated Emma like she mattered. The three of them had dinner once a month, and Emma seemed genuinely happy about her mother's new relationship. "You're right," I texted back. "Sometimes they do." Emma scored a goal and looked over at me in the stands, grinning and giving me a thumbs up. I cheered and took a picture to send to Elise. As I watched my daughter celebrate with her teammates, I realized that the story that had started with betrayal and fear had somehow transformed into something better. We'd all learned who we really were when everything fell apart. And in my case, I discovered I was exactly the father Emma needed me to be. The rest was just details.